Welcome to Word Jazz, a joint project between the Manieri Jazz Endowment of the Anacortes Public Library and the Skagit River Poetry Foundation. Tonight's show will feature the 3 student poet laureates from the Poetry Foundation collaborating with jazz musicians to create a hybrid of words and music that is more than the sum of its parts. First, Octavia Prosser will collaborate with herself on jazz guitar. Then Lucy Shannon will recite her poem while her father improvises on piano. Then we have a musical interlude from Kellen Murphy at Anacortes High School, in which he will play all of the instruments from Duke Ellington's piece, Take the A Train. Lastly, Olivia Elias will recite her poem. After each piece, the students will offer commentary on their poems and the process of putting the poems to music. We hope you enjoy the evening. A perfectly new person has a soul of shining stone, flawless and fascinating, filled with the same luster as every other. Some adore these identical gems, lamenting the grime of age that mars their own perfection, while guilty of putting the hated mud on themselves. For though time can refine and purify, it must also stain. Heat warps us, we become calcified, changes not so easily undone grow beneath the mud. No longer innocently shining are we, no longer are we flawless. But were we lovely in the beginning? Were we distinct? Nothing in nature is perfect. Flawless doesn't mean whole. Flawless doesn't mean whole. We live, we breathe, we are carried downstream. We surround ourselves with joy. Its color seeps into our souls and destroys their pure white. Joy turns to sadness, turns to anger. We are filled with their myriad hues, our luster dimmed by the layers of pigment, but all the more lovely for its softness. Moss cushions the stones of our souls, cobwebs cast shadows over them. Our featureless centers become defined. Children pass by and see images reflected in the cloud-like imperfections. We are more flaw than stone, yet we are more beautiful for it. None of us the same as each other, all of us fitting into a perfectly imperfect whole. Nothing in nature is perfect, but together we can become whole. To to start our collaboration, I wrote a poem with 4 stanzas and then a little 2-line addition at the end. But we wanted our piece to be a little bit longer than the original poem, so I then wrote a companion poem that was also 4 stanzas with the kind of 2-line summaries at the end. And then we decided to take the first poem and treat it kind of like an A section in jazz music, and then have a solely instrumental B section, and then the second poem would be an A section again. So yeah, you want to talk about the music?
Well, one of the challenging things was to try to play in a way that would be an honest accompaniment to what Lucy was speaking about in the poem, and not have it be overwhelmed with something that had too much structure that wasn't really a part of the poem. Rather than having a piece of music and a piece of poem, to have one artistic expression. So for me, one of the things that kind of turned out was that at the beginning of the piece, there's not a lot of rhythm that ties to the rhythm of your speaking. And then as we kind of were getting farther into the piece, then more of a rhythm of the piece itself from both the voice and the music came out. And I think at the end it kind of managed to come together into sort of one rhythmic expression of both.
Yeah. We took some inspiration from Billie Holiday's version of These Foolish Things, and also a Charlie Parker song, which I forget the title of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those were musically some sort of material to get us just thinking, get the creative processes going, but I think what we wound up with is pretty unconnected from those.
Yeah, we use those, I use those as inspiration for kind of the tone of my poem, and originally we had music that was closer to those, but it just didn't quite fit with the loose structure of the poem.
Yeah, it wound up feeling like a separate composed thing that didn't really connect honestly with the poem.
Yeah. So we ended up just having my dad improvise the entire thing, which is pretty cool. Thank you guys for watching. We hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
Hi, I'm Octavia Prosser, and I'm currently a senior at Oak Harbor High School. So just a little bit about my poem before you listen to it. Behind it, I am playing the guitar chords of an interpretation of the song Jordu. And my poem is written as a personal healing experience for myself, for the past. And so I hope you enjoy it and you really like it. When I was young, I learned why it was forbidden to yank those premature flowers from places like my mother's precious bed. For once I did, questioning that stupid rule and acting in complete rebellion. Picking them at their delicate stems, I saw they wilted, they died, unable to grow again, stopped prematurely. So I question, now that if I knew that at such an early age, how could you not comprehend the damage you did? My friends, they say I'm not to blame, but I question them at every turn and at every end, wondering, quite simply, when I'll grow again. Thank you. That was She Was 14 and He Was 18 by me, Octavia Prosser.
I'm scared of dying, to see every illusion I have embodied rot faster than the bones I carry, to feel fear depleting at a never-ending rate like how flowers bloom on a late summer's day, the care disappearing like smoke in the air. But I'm still scared, for what is life without fear? Carelessness can lead to disaster, and not knowing only gets you there faster. How am I supposed to let go when all we have known is to hold on? We live every day avoiding death, avoiding the one we cannot agree on. I'm scared of the unknown. What if I'm not happy with the outcome? Having control is temporary, and maybe that's the root. Losing the one thing we relied on, putting us on mute. When we take our final breath, cherish that control. To feel the air roll up your throat, memories becoming a slideshow filled with love and grief, served with a side of hopefulness. I'm scared of where I'll go, having no choice, having no control. In my poem, there are lots of ups and downs, and I kind of wanted to interpret those with the music. For this project, I really wanted the music to enhance the listening experience and intertwine with the poem and become, like, connect the two and become a single body. I wanted to feel curious and free of thought, so I chose an instrument that most might not be familiar with, and I think it really brings curiosity and wondering where this is gonna go. And just like the poem is talking about death and the curiosity and wondering where it's gonna go. So when the music goes quiet, there's the only single drum beat, and I wanted that to feel heavy and put emphasis on what I was saying. For me, the single drum beat signifies the heartbeat and signifies a turning point in this poem, going deeper into the thought process of why I am scared. The big cymbal crash in the beginning is there because I do go off track of what I said in the beginning and kind of wonder and maybe see the beauty in dying and possibly going into the thought process of not seeing it as this big monster that's just out to get us. And letting the music get more grand, but then the cymbal crash kind of showing the punch of pulling yourself back down to ground zero, bringing back the idea of being scared and questioning the trail of thought I had previous to the cymbal crash. Another thing about these breaks is I also did the breaks because of how poems themselves are formatted. They have their breaks and their pauses, and I wanted to play with that in the piece. In the middle of the poem, I made the music go down the scale again to follow that spiraling thought process that is quite heavy to think about, especially when I bring up avoiding the one we cannot agree on. I wanted the audience to kind of feel sadness and again heaviness idea and really think about where they stand with that. I really wanted this piece to be thought-provoking and resonate with others. And with writing this piece, I wanted to find the source of my fear, and I hopefully found it at the end, but I won't know. And the cymbal crash at the end, it goes from finding positive to not exactly bringing me back to ground zero, but leaving me to hope that that's it. So, and again, putting emphasis on what I'm saying at the end. So, that's my explanation. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed our first word jazz presentation, brought to you jointly by the Manieri Jazz Endowment of Anacortes Public Library and the Skagit River Poetry Foundation. Thanks to Lucy Shannon, Octavia Prosser, and Olivia Elias for their poetry, and Kellen Murphy for his music. Special thanks to the Anacortes Library staff for producing tonight's show, and Anacortes High School Band Director Chris Dial for sending us Kellen's music. We hope to continue these collaborations between poets and jazz musicians in future presentations. We'd like not only to create collaborations between students, but also to match professional jazz musicians with student poets and professional poets with student musicians. If you'd like to participate in future word jazz events, contact us at skagitpoems@gmail.com or library@cityofanacortes.org. Again, that is skagitpoems@gmail.com or library@cityofanacortes.org. Thank you again.